Lathrop-Manteca Fire Protection District, bringing the meeting back to open session. Closed session is going to be continued after item 11. So for now, we're going to go to item 3, roll call.
Chairman Coe?
Present.
Vice Chair Gish?
Here.
Director Rhodes?
Yes, here.
Director Payton?
Here.
And then Director Gleason.
Absent. Okay, Pledge of Allegiance, will you please join me?
You do have to say that we're going to go back.
I did.
Oh, I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And I apologize for us being long in our closed session, and thank you for being patient. Declaration of conflict of interest, starting on my left.
None.
None?
None. None.
Okay. Chief, are there any presentations? I show none here. Okay. Do we have any public comment forms? None submitted. Let's go to item 8, consent items. Will you read those for us?
Consent items 8.1, June 14th, 2018 regular board meeting minutes. 8.2, monthly register of warrants. 8.3, receive and file June 2018 incident and training report. 8.4, receive and file monthly year-to-date budget report.
Okay.
I'm ready to make a motion if nobody's going to pull anything.
I'm ready to second.
I make a motion that we approve consent items 8.1 through 8.4.
I second.
Okay, I have a motion from Director Rhodes, a second from Director Payton. Roll call for a vote.
Chairman Coe?
Yes.
Oh, I'm doing roll call?
Yes.
Chairman Coe?
Yes.
Vice Chair Gish?
Yes.
Director Rhodes?
Yes.
Director Payton?
Yes.
Okay, scheduled items 9.1.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have Battalion Chief Josh Capra will be coming up to present this item.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, and staff, directors and staff. Battalion Chief Josh Capper, I'm here to present item 9.1, the Lathrop-Manteca Fire District Tactical EMS Vests purchase. So the Fire Chief is requesting that the Fire Board authorize the purchase of body armor and medical equipment for the intervention of actor-shooter events. Is this echoey? With the recent increase in active shooter events, especially at school sites, it has become more apparent that the LMFD needs to be proactive in protecting our crews who may be mitigating these types of emergencies. We currently do not have any safety equipment such as body armor to protect our firefighters who may have to intervene in such an emergency. Also, the potential for numerous trauma victims could overtax the medical equipment that our units currently do carry. So in the event of an active shooter incident, fire crews would be assigned to a team of law enforcement officers to make an initial sweep to assess for the number and types of injuries. This means they could possibly be entering schools or buildings, searching for victims, even while the shooter or shooters are still at large. Body armor would provide fire crew members with an extra layer of safety in the event that they become targets themselves. The trauma kits would provide extra medical resources such as tourniquets, chest seals, clotting agents, and other traumatic injury intervention supplies. This staff has consulted with Lathrop Police Services regarding the type of body armor that would be most effective to work in conjunction with our law enforcement counterparts. We're looking to purchase 20 vests for all of our first out units and 3 trauma kits. Each vest is approximately $450, and the trauma kits are approximately $500 each. That's an example of the vest that we're looking at. And then this is just an example of a trauma bag that's going to have varying equipment in it. Staff is requesting that the board authorize the purchase of the body armor, safety equipment, and the mass casualty trauma supplies. And it's approximately going to be about $10,500 out of fire facility fees. Any questions?
Questions from the board, starting on the right?
I have no questions, but I do have a comment. I was really excited when I saw this. I know that a couple of years ago, the chief and I were in a conference, and they talked about how, PD and fire can work together to ensure that medical gets to the injured as quickly as possible. And I know that he had been working and moving us in that direction. So seeing actually something concrete about it is really excited. So thank you for this report.
Have we done any training with PD? We have, I'm sorry.
So we've done some training with neighboring agencies as well as law enforcement agencies. There's a countywide training that happens on a yearly basis. We've done that. We've done some training with our counterparts in Manteca, and we've also done some training here locally with our local agencies.
Do you know of neighboring jurisdictions that have the vest?
To my knowledge,
for example?
I'm sorry.
Does Manteca, for example?
Manteca does, Stockton does, Tracy is in the process of getting their equipment as well.
Good.
Okay. I think this is great. I think it's the more tools we have out there for these unfortunate situations, the better. So I'll entertain a motion, as the staff is recommending, that we authorize the purchase.
I move forward with the motion.
Okay?
I'll second.
Motion by Director Rhodes, second by Vice Chair Gish.
Chairman Coe,
Yes.
Vice Chair Gish,
Yes.
Director Rhodes,
Yes.
Director Payton.
Yes.
Okay, item 10, informational items. Start with the chief's report, 10.1.
So first report is on the fireworks violations. This year we teamed up with law enforcement and went out on patrols. We were able to, at the end of the 4th of July, it was over I think a 7-day period. Combined staff issued 10 citations and potentially one more. We're still waiting for some guys on a strike team. We're not sure if we got all the violations back yet. And then approximately 5 of those resulted in confiscation of dozens of illegal and dangerous fireworks, including some aerial shells and mortars. And we confiscated approximately 15 to 20 pounds of various dangerous fireworks off of the streets through that period of time. Fire station open houses. So July 8th was Station 31. That went off very well. I think we got more people at that open house than we had gotten in the previous. And they had a demonstration at that. We were able to do it there because we have the back training area there and we had the gravel, so they were able to perform an extrication demonstration, and that worked out real well. Everybody liked it. Station 32 was July 15th. Again, that one was pretty successful. Everybody showed up a little bit more than did the previous year. Good feedback from the residents out in that location. The next one is at Station 33 is July 22nd, and if the board members would like to come out, that'd be great to see you out there. And Station 34 will be July 29th, and that one should be a little bit larger. And I think they're going to have search for sale from behind the fire and that kind of stuff out there too. Update on the solar, Chief Madowski?
Thank you, Chief Neely. Quickly, Station 34, the construction phase has been completed. The blacktop slurry seal and restriping has also been completed in conjunction with that project. And we are currently working through the paperwork with PG&E, and we are continuously getting forms and signing those e-documents and returning those. So we are in the documentation phase for the permission to operate.
Okay, perfect, thank you. So two more things. We're going to be bringing back, I'm going to be bringing back a purchase of two more utility vehicles. That'll come in front of the board next month. And then an update on what we talked about, the previous chief's report was the potential consolidation or the option of consolidation with French Camp. So the update on that is that we requested some financial documents to see if that was going to be feasible so that we can get to a point of solving the problem. The big problem here is that we are two agencies serving one city now, and that's become quite confusing of who's responding to what. For instance, we do the hazmat. We do all the hazmat. That doesn't mean French Camp can't respond to hazmat. It's just they can't be doing mitigation. They can't be calling county out, OES, without us being there. There's charges for that kind of stuff. So it's for us to do that hazmat response. There's been some confusion with that. There's been confusion with, obviously, the ordinance and with the city. There's been different issues. So we tried to solve that initially when the annexation was taking place, but that fell on deaf ears and nobody wanted to meet with us on that. So now we've hit that point. I know that the city wants to have one fire response in their city, and we need to find a solution to that. So there's several options. We can meet with French Camp and try to resolve this issue through an annexation mitigation. We can look at the city detaching, or we can force a consolidation. And we can't force that consolidation, but LAFCO can. And LAFCO's been saying that they need to consolidate these departments anyways. I did talk to Jim Glacier at LAFCO, and he did give me the procedures in order to, we can apply for that. We can submit an application. We would then give them documentation to justify why we feel that there should be a consolidation, and then it would go in front of the commission. Neither one of us gets to agree whether that happens or not. That's just something that happens. LAFCO has that authority. They have two authorities LAFCO has. One is to control the growth of cities by detaching and putting and annexing county area into the city for services. And the second is to combine services such as special districts. That's what their role is. So we did request financial documents from French Camp, and we are reviewing them as we speak to see if it's going to be feasible for that consolidation or other options. We did meet with the chief from French Camp, and one of the directors was there. I met with, it was myself, Chief Madowski, Bob Pico, Chief Fred Manding, and the administrative assistant, I forget his name, Lim though. Oolong Lim. And so he was able to produce some documents. We were looking for a couple different ones, so we requested additional documentation from the county. And we're looking at the numbers to see if it's going to be feasible for us to just take them over completely, or if there's some other avenue that we can look at trying to mitigate this problem and solving it with the city of Lathrop, having one response into their area. So that's the update for the French Camp consolidation. Also, I was elected the chair for the JPA for the San Joaquin County Regional Fire Dispatch Authority. So I currently sit as the chair for that. And that's all I have for,
Congratulations.
thank you.
Can we ask questions on the French Camp?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, just questions, because it's not an agendized item. Chief, where, the area that we're talking about, whose sphere of influence was that on?
Lathrop,
Who annexed?
Lathrop.
Forgive me because I'm a very logical person and from all the years that I've been on here or council or anywhere else, the jurisdiction that had the fear of influence always made those decisions. Does anybody understand why that decision was made? I mean, we're in a predicament that should have never happened because the way the sphere of influence goes, that jurisdiction that takes over. In other words, before this happened, Lathrop was still responsible that the day that they annexed, they would provide water, sewer, fire, police, and so forth. So I don't know, have we tried to go the first and most logical, which is LAFCO needs to resolve this? And it shouldn't be somebody detaching, I mean, the annexation already happened. It shouldn't be somebody detaching or doing anything else. It's just that that jurisdiction should have always been. And if there's any animosity or anything else, it was caused by LAFCO, not French Camp, not Lathrop, district or city. I just don't understand it. I really don't understand why this even happened in the first place.
So I can summarize some of that up and answer that. So when the city first initiated the annexation of that area where Pilot Flying J is, that falls in the French Camp jurisdiction, LAFCO does not have the authority to take land from one special district and give it to another. They don't have that authority to do that. That's clear in the Hertz-Cortez Act. What they do have is the authority for the city to detach. The city could have detached from French Camp Fire Department, but at the time, we were told, and we're trying to find documentation, that Jim Glacier said they could not do that. That is not how that act reads. That act reads, just as you said, the city has the authority to detach and provide services. They could contract those services. Just because Jim Glacier said because they don't have a fire department, they can't do it. That's not how the act reads. The act reads very clearly, and I spoke to Colantuno in regards to this, that they can detach from that area, and they can provide that service by contracting it out. They do it the same thing for
But when
police
you're saying
services.
detached, the district detaches or the,
The city,
what city?
the city of Lathrop, would detach from French Camp, just like it happens in Manteca.
Okay.
Same thing it happens in Manteca. When they annex an area, they detach from us.
Yes.
They would have done the same thing with French Camp. See, they don't detach from us when they're
Yeah.
when they're expanding the city.
That's
in
what I
any
mean. The
other area.
districts have no power here. It's the cities
It's
when
the
they
city that
annex.
has the
Yeah.
power. But Jim Glacier said that they didn't have the power,
That's-
and he's changed his tune, and so we're trying to resolve this issue the best we can. And so that is an option for the city to go back. They can still go back and detach. They don't have to, just because the annexation wasn't done, a city can go back and detach later from a special district. Just because the annexation was done, that doesn't mean anything. Stockton does it all the time, right? Stockton can come back and detach also. They have that authority. That's what the law states. You just have to apply. You have to put an application together and you have to apply.
Yeah.
And so they can detach. They have that authority to do that. That could be the ultimate. The problem with that is if the city does detach with that, they lose the taxing mechanism. So the taxes that
But so does Manteca, so does Stockton.
Absolutely.
Anybody who does that has to
absolutely.
pay the price.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then there would be some sort of resolve for us to provide the service there, which we have other avenues in place to mitigate that. So that is another option. I'm just putting together all the options, and this is one of them.
Yeah.
So I wanted to
What
present
is,
this.
but you know, because I've been on both places. I've been in the city council and I've been in the district. Do we know how the city of Lathrop feels? Because
Yes, I do.
I gotta tell you, to be city of Lathrop and not have the ability of the power, but still be responsible for a service, that's really scary.
So this whole thing has played in to be a mess, right? Because of exactly what you said, response models and response times and NFPA and all these standards that the city has set out that they want to meet. Through us being that service model, it has always been in place. You can speak to the elders, I call that, because they were the initial inaugural council. It has always been in place that as it would grow. As a matter of fact, in the MSR report that Jim Glacier put together in 2010, I'm trying to remember what year it was, it spelled out that as the city of Lathrop grows, the French camp will lose their jurisdiction. It says it right in
I
there.
remember, yeah.
It's in the report. It was
That's why I
approved
don't
by the
understand.
commission. And for him to have the second change of heart of how he performed this last annexation, it's inappropriate. It doesn't match with what his standard is set out is as in the MSR report that he put together. And so we're just holding everybody accountable. The last thing I want to do is not come to my board and not have options of how we're going to move forward. And that's what I'm doing.
I know. But in the same breath, because, in other words, we don't have the responsibility as a district to provide anything. The county has a responsibility through the district for the unincorporated, and then we are with the city of Lathrop. I guess what I'm trying to say is this. You're doing an excellent job trying to come up with alternatives and everything else. But I got to tell you, I see this as the city of Lathrop's fight, because this should have never happened to start with, and maybe it was a way not to have to give up that tax. But the reality is, we can't stop, but it is critical that we work very closely with the city of Lathrop, because they're the ones who are ultimately responsible, and this is, I don't know, we've been put in a very, very difficult situation. We've been put in a very difficult situation also with French Camp. And it should have never happened, and some other folks need to come to the table and try to resolve this.
I am working with the city.
Good, that's what I needed to know.
Yeah, if that's the question. Yeah, I am working with the city on this. We are heading up these options because the city can't force a consolidation. That's not another option. There, you know what I mean? There's other options here that the board has to take place and be part of. For instance, if we can come to an agreement with French Camp, the initial agreement was, and I brought that to you, what the initial agreement was that we'd take possession of the land. We would then, it would come to our area. We would then forward the money over there as a mitigation process to forward the money. That's property tax and the override tax, because we have the same taxing mechanisms. And then that would take place through that process. There is a way from moving forward how we would move all of that land over. There would be no mitigation, but Jim Glacier failed to tell us that till after the annexation. And so from this point forward, this will never happen again.
But again, the critical piece, and I'm sorry, my mind as a council member comes to place. It is really critical that the city of Lathrop be 100% into this, because giving up, they're still responsible. So they need to consider a lot of things. Do they want to work with two districts?
So
Do they want
that's
to?
already been, so I don't mean to
Okay,
cut you off.
all
but
right.
that's
I just
I'm
wanted-
working with them
Perfect.
currently now to solve this problem.
Good,
They
thank
don't
you.
want two districts. They don't want that. That's the reason why we're here.
Perfect,
That's why
thank
I'm
you.
discussing it with you. They're not going to come to our meeting and
Yeah.
talk to you about the annexation and the detachment. That's for me to do that, right? To tell you what's going to go on. I can turn around and say, hey, go ahead and just detach. And then how do we solve that problem? Right? Or what if they just come back and say, well, we're not going to do it. We're not going to even deal with it. Well, then there's a problem for us, because how are we going to solve that problem when we're being paid to solve a problem for the city of Lathrop? But how can we solve that problem when French Camp refuses to call us out to those calls? How do we do that?
Yeah.
See, you see how it's not our problem, but yet we do have a responsibility there yet? And so in order to solve that, we have to be involved in the solution.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I wasn't at the last meeting, so I didn't get a lot of the information.
It was very brief.
But it is, it's just incomprehensible to me that we are even in this place. That's not the way that the whole land use planning process works. That's not, I'm not talking about districts, I'm talking about
You're right.
the flow of how you incorporate and annex land and all of those things. There is no precedent that I know of that even addresses
It
this
doesn't even-
picture.
It doesn't
Yeah.
even deal with responsible annexation. It's,
Thank you, I appreciate that.
no problem. I'll give you more information. Once I solve some of these other problems, I'll have an outline for you guys and direction and which way we want to go first.
Thank you.
Because there's a couple different, we can come to an agreement with them, which is the easiest process, and put that in place and have it done at LAFCO where they switch land back to us, we mitigate it and we take care of it, and we come together and do a response model together, which is best is a regional response to each other. That's what I would prefer. If they refuse to do that and they don't want to do any of that, then there's this option that we can force a consolidation of that area. And then we can force that consolidation of the departments.
Yeah.
That's an option. I mean, I don't want to take it off the plate because it's still there. And then there's the
Yeah.
other option of the city just standing up and saying, hey, just detach from them and we'll have an agreement with Lathrop-Manteca to solve that area.
Okay.
So there's three other avenues. I just want to have them all in place so that the board is aware.
Yeah, I just, and like I said before, there's many more questions that I have, but unfortunately, I can't ask those until we have the, part of this portion, when it's not agendized, is you can ask questions for clarity, but you can't give direction in any
Correct.
way. And believe me, there's a lot of direction flowing in my head, but I can't do that until it comes back to us as an agendized item, and I hope that that is
Next
at a
month.
soon, perfect, thank you.
I'm hoping to have it all next month.
Any more questions on the chief's report? I'll just comment on the French camp issue. I appreciate you doing your homework for the district and for the city of Lathrop, so we have all our options available, and we know once we see those, then we'll make a better educated direction of where we go. So I appreciate you doing all that. And going back to the rest of your report, the fire station open houses, my kids and I, we were able to go to Station 31. We enjoyed that very much, and I was able to make it to 32s, and I'm looking forward to the other two as well. One thing that when I was at Station 32 that I realized was there's residents that are around 32, Station 32, that may or may not ever go into the city of Lathrop and see all the other resources that Lathrop-Manteca Fire has available to them. So maybe that we, moving forward in future years, we have something available at Station 32 and Station 33 where they can see all the other resources available that Lathrop-Manteca can provide. The trucks, the rescues, the specialized vehicles, boats, or whatever it may be. And it's not necessarily driving them all there. That may not be feasible, but at least some kind of poster board or pictures on the wall of all the apparatus or something like that. Basically everything that's on their website, that you can display. Like if you were having a job fair and you're trying to make your district attractive for people to want to come work, you show them what you got. So that's just something I took away from the last visit at Station 32. So I just thought I'd share that. Drove by Station 34 on the way here, saw the solar up. That was pretty cool. And I think that's all I had on the chief's report. That kind of rolled into board comments. You got
None.
anything for board comments?
Nope.
Okay. Director Rhodes?
Board comments? No, I went to the two that have already happened, the two open houses, had a great time. My husband loves the hot dogs, but got to meet a lot of people. And because I wasn't at the last meeting, when I went in, I saw all of these people in uniform that I did not know, and it was our new reserves. So it's really exciting to see everything going. One thing, I was just going to throw it out there. I guess because of the incident where one entrance into River Island was blocked and so forth, I was reading in Facebook, there was a lot of comments of residents just asking the question, is there a plan in place in case we ever get into a situation where we can't get out or we can't come in? So just food for thought. I think that opened some questions and a little bit of concern. And of course, I could go in there and say, oh, yeah, I can guarantee you we have something. But, maybe we can look in the future. But they are, a lot of people asking what would happen if our two entrances were blocked and we couldn't come in or get out. So anyway.
What's funny is before that bridge opened, the train blocked the only entrance in the River Islands for several hours about a year ago or so.
Oh, really?
And that same discussion came up then too.
Oh, that's funny. Wow.
So, the only thing while you were speaking, it made me remember on the chief's report, status of the strike teams, or where have we been this year in the 12-month fire season?
So, yeah. So I was out for about 12 to 13 days myself with a Type 3 engine from Lathrop-Manteca. We were at the Pawnee for 6 days. We got moved to the Waverly Fire, which is here in San Joaquin County, and then as soon as we're for 1 day, and after that one, we were demobbed, and then we were sent back up to the county fire, which was by Lake Berryessa. So we did about 12 to 13 days out there. We were, everybody did fine, had a great experience. All the crews came back happy. Nobody, for the most part, got injured. And then we just sent out the Ferguson fire, which is the one in Mariposa. We just sent out a Type 1, 4 people on the Type 1 OES rig has gone out. And then the Type 3 went out with 4 firefighters on it. And then the RIMS has also been deployed with 4 personnel on there. So we have 12 people out currently on assignment. And I just found out that Chief Medowski may be going up there to relieve one of the strike team leaders in the next couple days. So we do also have a trainee out there. Mike Isham is a strike team leader trainee. He's out there also. I did get kind of called out, but not necessarily. I didn't take the response, so I kind of held back for the board meeting to make sure we got some stuff accomplished, since my eval was on the.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Okay, if there's nothing further, we're going to go back into closed session to finish item 2.1. So once we're done with there, then we'll adjourn. So thank you all, and go back to closed session.